The Sharks add cap flexibility by acquiring Carey Price's contract from the Montreal Canadiens.
You're Locked On Sharks, your daily podcast on the San Jose Sharks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, welcome to Locked On Sharks, the premier hockey podcast covering your favorite team in the Bay Area. My name is JD Young, caretaker at The Reef, my blog about the San Jose Sharks with a focus on prospects, also the co-host of Locked On NHL. I want to thank you for making Locked On Sharks your first or maybe second listen of the day, as we're proudly part of the Locked On Network. We cover your team every day. If you want to be an everydayer, all you have to do is just follow along wherever you get podcasts. And of course, you can watch on YouTube as well. And today we're going to be discussing the trade. As we're spending about 15 minutes or so discussing the Carey Price trade, what this means for the Sharks, kind of where they're at with their cap situation, and if Michael Misa is now the next order of business for Mike Grier. So let's start with the actual trade itself. The Sharks send defensive prospect Gannon Larocque to the Montreal Canadiens for Carey Price and his contract, plus a 2026 fifth-round pick. So we'll start from the Sharks side. Gannon Larocque, of course, has not played hockey, really much hockey over the last couple seasons. He had a hip injury after the Sharks drafted him, before his second year of juniors, and it just never really recovered from that. Missed all of last season. So this is basically a swap of contracts for players who are most likely not going to have any sort of on ice contribution. There maybe Larocque gets in there, but at this point, I would probably say it's not going to happen for Gannon Larocque, unfortunately. So the Sharks send off that contract, and in return, they get Carey Price's contract at a $10.5 million AAV plus a 2026 fifth-round pick. We talked about this on Monday, but as a quick kind of crash course of why the Sharks wanted this contract from Carey Price, the Carey Price contract, and why the Canadiens were so looking to get rid of him. Carey Price has a $10 million AAV hit. So that is how much money will be on the Sharks cap. The Sharks, of course, they were comfortably over the floor, but if they happen to make any big trades this season, or, kind of ship off some players, whatever, it would kind of put them skirting close to the cap floor without having, and, you might have to bring back a contract back. By acquiring Carey Price's contract, the Sharks are comfortably over the cap floor, and they can make any trades that they want without having to worry about cap ramifications, because you just added basically $10.5 million to your cap floor. What also makes this trade, what made Carey Price's contract so tantalizing was, one, it has 1 year left, so his contract will come off the books after this season. When we hit July 1st, 2026, Carey Price will no longer be on the books. But two, the actual cash that, Hasso Plattner or Mike Grier, whoever signs the checks for the San Jose Sharks, is only $2 million. So the way that the contract was structured, Carey Price got, a lot of signing bonuses, et cetera, the kind of front loaded. And then on September 1st, he got a $5.5 million signing bonus from when he signed his contract. So September 1st, he got it every year. He was getting a signing bonus, $5.5 million signing bonus that the Canadiens wrote him a check. Here you go, Mr. Price. Thank you for your services. So the remaining amount of money that was actually owed, like actually you have to write a check out for him, is only $2 million. So the Sharks are paying $2 million in actual cash to get $10.5 million cap hit. So that's why this contract was so, kind of appealing for teams like the Sharks, the Chicago Blackhawks, and the Pittsburgh Penguins, teams who we all kind of expect to be at the basement, teams that are probably going to be selling off pieces, is that you're getting a big cap hit on your cap without having to pay a lot of cash for said cap hit. And for the Canadiens, now they are no longer in the LTIR. They're able to kind of bank some of this cap space for the trade deadline and go out and try to improve their team. That, I know they're looking for a 2C, et cetera, et cetera. It just gives them more roster flexibility, where as a team, like, they don't have to kind of dip into that LTIR. And now with the new LTIR rules and how things are kind of structured, like, it's not as much of an advantage now, especially when you look at going to the playoffs and what, kind of being cap compliant. The LTIR rules are just not as team friendly as they once were. And, what percentage of the LTIR, all that stuff, it's just not as useful as it was even last year. Right. So, very much like it feels like a kind of win-win situation for both teams. I know some people are like, well, they only gave up a 5th round pick. There was dreams and thoughts of maybe the Sharks might get like a, 2nd round pick or something like that. I never thought that was going to be a realistic thing because, again, like, both teams kind of needed this, right? And you could argue the Canadiens needed it more than the Sharks, but either one of them was happy kind of going into the situations that they were in, right? Canadiens said, like, if we have to use the LTIR, we have to use the LTIR. And for the Sharks, like, okay, like, we'll probably be fine if we trade pieces away, but it's not the end of the world if we don't add a buffer to our, to the cap floor. So 5th round pick, not much. And you look at the Shea Weber contract, which has been kind of the contract du jour to trade over the past couple seasons for teams like, looking to add to their cap floor. It's been traded for a 5th round pick. Like, that's kind of been the cost of business. And you could argue, well, the contract, the Shea Weber contract is at like it's a little under $8 million. And this is a $10.5 million cap hit. So the Sharks should get more back. But then there's also more teams looking to add this contract, right? Like I just said, that the reported teams were Chicago, Sharks, and Pittsburgh were all looking to add this contract. So yeah, Shea Weber's contract was 7.87. But you look, over the past couple of seasons, his contract has been moved around. And it's, it was moved around for a 5th round pick from Vegas to Utah. And then Utah traded it for a 5th round pick to the Blackhawks. Like, that's just kind of the cost of this, especially for these kind of contracts here, where it's not really going to do, like, it's not really, both teams kind of benefit from this transaction. So I know some people, you're probably mad. Well, why didn't we get a 2nd round pick? You were never getting a 2nd round pick. Like, that's just, it is what it is, right? So, we're going to talk about kind of the cap situation here and where this leaves the Sharks. Kind of a fun visual also, and we'll talk about it too, of where the Sharks cap space is going so far on this team, and then kind of Michael Misa, if he's kind of the next domino. So we'll get to that here in just 1 second. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel's making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5. If your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. If you had $5 on a Mike Greer Friday news dump, congratulations. FanDuel makes every game more exciting, whether you're watching your team or just keeping an eye on your fantasy lineup. It's quick, easy, and the best way to add a little bit more energy to Sundays. So, if you're ready to play, download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. All right, before we continue, do of course want to thank you for making Locked On Sharks your first listen or second listen. Make sure if you haven't, perfect time to subscribe. The push to 5K is on if you're watching on YouTube. The hope is to get to 5,000 subscribers before puck drop game 1. We're getting close. So if you haven't yet, perfect time to subscribe as we actually have real hockey a week from now, like real hockey. We're going to see Michael Misa play. We're going to talk about him here in a little bit. So make sure you subscribe wherever you're following along. And of course, you can watch on YouTube as well. So what does this mean? Where does this put the Sharks in their cap situation? It's a great question. So the Sharks right now are at $86,259,168. They're a little bit more than $9.2 million of cap space. More importantly, the Sharks are now $18 million over the cap floor, which is good. Because again, if the Sharks are bad, or as we kind of expect, right, going to be a bottom tier team again this year, and you trade pieces away, and the Sharks have plenty of pieces that teams might be interested in, right? Alex Weinberg, that's $5 million. John Klingberg, that's $4 million. Jeff Skinner, that's $3 million. Maybe a guy like Grunstrom or Dellandrea or Kurashev, or, again, like the Sharks have Mario Ferraro. That's a lot of potential pieces that the Sharks could trade. Again, I'm not saying the Sharks are going to trade all those, but it just gives you cap flexibility where you can jettison contracts without having to take something back. And especially at the end of the season, if you're trying to open up pathways for some of your young players to play, taking on a contract is, right, just another, like that's just another dude you kind of have to worry about. So not to say that the Sharks probably won't take on some bad contracts here and there to maybe help sweeten, the deal. But for San Jose, it just gives them flexibility where they don't have to take on bad contracts. It doesn't have to be a money in, money out type of situation for them. And it can be more about getting those sweet assets back that we kind of expect Mike Grier to do. So I do kind of like, this contract thing, like it's a little complicated. I totally get it, but this is, and as weird as it sounds, like adding money onto the Sharks cap gives them more flexibility. I know it sounds counterintuitive, but it kind of does, because like if they don't have to worry about making hockey trades, they can make more asset trades, if that makes sense, right? That doesn't have to be a player for player. You can be more focused on picks and prospects, which the Sharks, of course, clearly want picks and prospects as they continue to go through this rebuild. So a fun exercise I did was really quickly looking at kind of where the Sharks' money is kind of being spent, right? Because, they're at, as of right now, they're at $86 million in cap, but where is that money kind of being spent? So I quickly I went full nerd spreadsheet, put everybody's cap hits in and kind of organized them. All right. So if you're watching on YouTube, you'll see the chart here. If not, I will happily explain it for you. So the Sharks are spending 33.6% of their cap space on their forward group. So that equates to about $29 million. The next largest tier is their dead cap, which comes up to $28 million. That's Couture and Price's contracts. That's Hurdle and Carlson retentions. And then that's the Vlasic, Martin Jones, and Knizhov dead caps from the buyouts that they've had. Next, they're spending 28.6% on their defensemen. That's Orlov, Leddy, Klingberg, Ferraro, Liljegren, Darnayes, Mukamadula, and Dickinson. And then 5.2% on their goalies with the Delkovich and Askarov. So $28 million, so 32%, almost a third of their entire cap is dead cap space right now. So, which is a sneaky little way to kind of, especially when you have so many ELCs and young players who have not earned big contracts, dead cap is the way to hit the cap floor. So the good thing is a lot of this stuff clears up here over the nenext couple years, right? The Carey Price contract comes off here, off this season. Couture's got 2 years left. Vlasic's got 2 years. Martin Jones, like everybody's contracts are kind of coming off, with the exception of the hurdle retention, that 27-28 season. So I think that kind of tells you what Mike Grier's thinking about because you're that's a lot of money that's basically going to free up in the 27-28 season. So I think it kind of tells you when Mike Grier thinks he's going to be active. So the other big thing is, unfortunately, Grier wasn't able to offload another contract, which is kind of what I thought he would do. It would be to try to move another AHL contract and to open up Michael Misa. So again, the Sharks are currently at 49 contracts right now, but that doesn't include Dickinson. And that does include Michael Misa, who still needs to get signed. That also does include Leo Saleh and Wallenius, who are both. All those guys are, Wallenius is going to be over in the SHL. Like that contract's 100% going to slide. So I do still expect Misa to get signed at some point here. And again, just as a reminder, his contract, even if he signs, it doesn't kick in until he plays that 10th game. The same thing with Sam Dickinson. And the same thing with Igor Chernyshov. All these contracts can slide until next year unless they play 10 NHL games. And I do think Misa, out of all those guys, Misa is going to be the first one to hit that. I 100% believe Misa is going to sign here. So my assumption is he gets signed sometime either this weekend or before the rookie face-off next Friday. And then they just kind of play it by ear going into training camp and trade somebody, one or two of these AHL type of forwards, especially because the Barracuda do have a lot of AHL forwards on their roster right now. You just trade one of these guys to somebody, like whoever's looking for some AHL depth. If you got to attach a late round pick, whatever, future considerations, whatever, it doesn't really, like, getting something back for those. It's not as important as getting Sam Dickinson and Michael Misa in a place to be on the roster. And, I know there's people holding out hope that Misa is going to go to college. Like we talked about this recently, but if he was going to college, he'd already be on campus. He's going to sign his ELC at some point here soon. It's going to happen. The Sharks want him in camp. They want him to make a run for the team. And if he doesn't make a run for the team, then he can go play in the OHL this year and destroy a bunch of 17-year-olds. 16, 17-year-olds, and then he can play either on the Sharks or in the AHL next year because he'll have hit 4 years of service time in the OHL, or because of the 19-year-old exception that's going to be going through. So, Misa's going to sign, and I would rather have Misa, even if he doesn't make the team this year, I'd rather him play in the AHL next year than play college. So, and if he doesn't make it this year, he's definitely going to make the Sharks next year. And, but I think he's going to make the Sharks. We've seen the Sharks be able to navigate young forwards. Look at Will Smith. I've said it before, and I'll continue to say it. I think Michael Misa is going to be on the Will Smith plan of success. I just think he's going to go through it much quicker than Will Smith did last year. So, anyway, but yeah, Carey Price, San Jose Sharks legend. I do really hope the Canadiens re-sign him to a one-day contract when this is over, and so he can officially retire as a Canadian. It's weird. It is a little weird. So, but anyway, that's going to be it for me today. We'll be back Sunday night, most likely, unless Mike Grier decides to do something else. So make sure you're following along wherever you get podcasts. And, of course, you can watch on YouTube as well. Follow the show on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and on TikTok. at Locked On Sharks. Follow me on Twitter and Blue Sky at My Fry Hole. Until Sunday night, bye, friends.